This live? Is this the internet? What's up, internet? Are you there? Let me know if I'm actually live. I'm still getting used to this new setup. Plus, I just took everything apart and brought it upstairs. So it's like a new setup. So I'm going to do that classic streamer thing where I go like, "Hey, is my audio working? Let me know in the chat." I know, Carol, I'm late. Let's get the chat up. Let's get that going. What is this? There's segments that are here. I need to fix that. Does that work? It doesn't show everything, though. I don't know. Guys, I don't know. I went away from my usual platform because I just got tired of like the cost is kind of crazy for how much like streaming is a thing now. And like there's so many free options, but they're all like just like a little buggy and you have to fix things constantly. And it's kind of frustrating, but then again, so is paying money for it. But I think what I can do is I can make this like that. And I think it won't even matter that if I go here, I know I'm going to. Does that work? Well, dang. I don't know. So the chat's going to be a little cut off tonight. So I'll read it from the other side. I almost sang the Adele song. Hello from the other side. All right. Also, I'm realizing that this font is tiny for this screen. Usually I have a bigger screen. Guys, I don't know why I'm starting this stream with so much like tech stuff and streaming stuff. I know you guys don't care, but welcome to the stream. We're just going to hang out tonight. We got a couple clips, some clips that we're going to be watching. I might have to step out. We'll see. We'll see how things go. I would love to do more streams in the evenings. But as I've said on here a couple times, some of you guys know, it is kind of difficult with my son's diabetes. It's always the lower time. And so I got to be on my toes. But I got numbers in front of me, juices behind me. We're good to go. It should be fine. But we might have to take a couple breaks. But I want to say hi to everybody. All right. I love that I can just hop on a stream and kind of decide like that day to do a stream. And somehow you guys show up, and you guys have been showing up like all day. It's been kind of cool to see like some people hopping in and just being like, "Hey, what's up?" Or, whatever. We've got Daniel. Is it going to pop up? Oh, you know what? We're going to take down that chat because it's bugging me a little bit. And we're going to move. We can't even do that. Oh man, I might be going back to my other platform. I'm getting frustrated. I'm really trying not to be frustrated, but it should be easier. That's all I'll say. OBS. All right. First time making a live stream. Holla. We got a holla. You get it. You deserve it. You deserve it. Welcome to the stream, Daniel. That's awesome. I always appreciate it when somebody is just like, I'm going to do that weirdo thing and be in the chat. Because I know, guys, I never hopped into the chat until like 3 years ago. And I was watching people like I do on YouTube. I love YouTube so much. I was watching it, and like these guys that were pastors were talking about like YouTube stuff. And I was like, this is my chance. I'm going to try it. I'm going to hop into the chat. And it was awkward. And it didn't feel right the first couple times. I felt like such a dweeb. But I did it, and they interacted. and like you build like some community that way. So that's what I love about doing these live streams. I love that I can just, just hang out with you guys and it's all good. And you guys don't judge me too much for my tech stuff. Let's see. We've got Carolyn. Could you talk about the fact that if someone says it is inappropriate for some subjects to be discussed publicly, that seemingly all Christians will consider you a prude? We'll get into it, Carolyn. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff with the Josh Howerton stuff. It's a lot. And he's a lot. And I wanna dive into the weeds about it. But you're right. There are so many people that will just be like, you like when you go like, maybe we shouldn't be talking about this, especially like in the church service. Like, I know all these mega churches have like 1,000 kid groups where you just send the kiddies away, but there's some still there. And then there's like the teenagers that really like, they should be taught these things, but not in the same setting as an adult. And like, it's just, there's some stuff there. It's not like you shelter the teenagers from this stuff, but it's just like when you're being like making jokes about stuff, they're listening and they don't know if it's a joke or not, especially when it's a bad one. So it's just like, yeah, there might be avenues where you can get this information. It's not like we shouldn't be talking about this stuff. It's just not everything should be talked about in the same way at the same time. All right. Like, you get it. And Christians, sometimes they're just like, no, we should be able to talk about everything. And what, are you embarrassed about what the Bible says about this subject? It's like, no, but we don't need to be yelling it into the megaphone. Okay. Like, maybe being on the corner of the street and yelling about these things isn't all that helpful. Like, maybe it just makes you look super weird. Or you're creeping people out. Or, some people are listening and they're getting the wrong ideas about what you're even saying. So yeah, I totally agree. Whitney is here and says, probably not going to make it live, but I gave it a like anyway. Aw, that's so nice. All right. I appreciate it, Whitney. We got the goings here. There was something. Oh yeah. Heidi says, holding hands with my guy and hopping in the chat. Hello, dogs. Who still has snow? We've got a tiny little itty bit. We had to drive to Saskatoon, which is a 2.5 hour drive there and then back. And there was some snow in spots. But I think it's spring. I think we can say it. Oh, it's going to come back to bite me in the butt. But I'm really hoping. I don't want more snow. Like, I'm so over snow. There's like, basically as soon as it's like February, I'm just like, why do we still got this stuff? I know the farmers need it, but like, I ain't a farmer. I don't want it. Like, can we just be done with this? What's up, guys? How's it going? Love it when you guys hop into the chat. And let's see, we got Bronxkis. Yay, another Underdog live stream. What an exciting time. Oh, is it? You guys are like so hyped and I love it. And then I always feel like I'm just like coming onto the stream being like, oh, it's been hard. Like, oh man, my tech's not working. My kid has diabetes. Like, just like freaking out. And you guys are like, let's party. And I'm sorry to be the party pooper. All right. But sometimes you got to go. Sometimes you got to go. Oh man, we're gonna have fun tonight. We're gonna have fun. It's gonna be okay. Let's see. Tax collector, what's up, man? Did you see the Lake Show cook your Raptors the other night? No, that's no good. Also, I will give huge amounts of credit to anyone who knows what this is. No, that's no good. Don't Google it. If you Google it, I'll know. I'll feel it. Let's see. Brian is here and says it snowed this week in Connecticut. That's how I say it, so I know how to spell it. Connecticut. You connect the cuts. All right. I'm sure he's heard that 1,000 times. Pam says, in other news, the topic of this live stream had my hubby and I talking for like an hour about the weird teachings we endured from our parents in youth groups. Hey, at least you got some. Why am I? You know what? We could do this. this is only on this scene. So why don't we do that? So we're not covering up my frickin' face. Sometimes I get so frustrated with myself of like, why did I choose to do that? Why did I choose to have... I really wanted the screen, guys. I know it's dumb, but I'm just like, this will be production value. Put the TV screen in there. Yeah, there's some earthquakes going around. I saw that. That's kind of crazy, Carol. And let's see. Aaron says, I had to get a new battery for my mower because the grass is already winning. Oh, the grass, undefeated. It just keeps on coming. There's a 4.1 aftershock. What? Is this about the New Jersey one? That's crazy. Jared texted me earlier today. Jeremy Collins from the YouTube channel. Pastor Jeremy Collins? Or is it Jeremy Collins? I don't know. But he was just like, it happened in my hometown. Which I just gave away your location, Jer. But I'm pretty sure you said that before. But it's just like, I don't know. Like in Seattle, we had a bunch, but apparently it's pretty rare for some places. We don't get them really up here. Let's see. Also, Dog, my wife and I were talking for a few hours last night about youth group days, rotten food, and dirty socks and all. I had a weird youth group, guys. Let's start with that, and then we'll get into the Josh Howerton stuff. I had a really weird youth group in that, like, we didn't talk about any of this stuff. like I lived in Fundy World, but like the like little branch or the little, I don't know, like the crescent. You guys have crescents in the States? Avenues that we lived on in Fundyville. They were like all about John MacArthur and expository preaching. So like some of that is really good and very helpful. Like the expository preaching stuff, not the Johnny Mac stuff, but the expository preaching I really enjoyed. And one of the things about that is that like we were all about theology. So we were like, I remember I got a prize, a book for finding all, like busting out Strong's Concordance and finding all the different kinds of crowns that Christians can get for, or like, I believe it's allegory, but like these crowns that Christians can get for suffering and all that kind of stuff, and like give specific texts and all of that. Like that's what we were doing at youth group, and like we didn't do like the whole like we're going to the abstinence events and like all that kind of stuff. But you know the purity culture still like trickled in. But I mean like we didn't even really play games. Like we went down into the gym because our church had a gym. Our church met in a gym. And so we would go down there and we'd like play like actual games. Like, I mean, sometimes you'd have like the fun stuff, but like of like, I don't know. I just had something pop into my mind, but we played like dodgeball and like stuff like that. But not really like the weird games. I had a guy I grew up with who I always thought was going to be a youth pastor. He was just like that cool kid. He was basically Napoleon Dynamite when Napoleon Dynamite was cool. And I like, like he was my best friend's older brother. And he had a Pontiac Firebird and it was decked out with cheetah print on the inside. Like he was just like that guy who looked like Macklemore in like the thrift shop music video. I just always assumed that he was going to be a youth pastor. And he was telling me one time about this idea that he had for a youth group game where he would literally just go and buy 2 full salmons and then just give them to 2 kids and just let them beat each other with them. And he's like, it'd be so funny. Like, and I'm thinking like, this was when I was already a youth pastor. Like we got together when I got back in Washington for something I forget. But like I was telling him like, guy, first off, like parents aren't going to sign off on that. Second, like the guts, like you're going to be cleaning this thing. The janitor ain't going to help you, bud. Like he's not coming in for that. He's like a volunteer most of the time anyways. Like he's not going to come in and be like, yes, I will help you clean up all this fish guts off the floor. Like, but he was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm pretty glad that guy didn't become a youth pastor. All right, let's talk about the Josh Howerton stuff. All right, this happened last week. I didn't talk about it on Monday because I had already been prepping And I'd already pushed it off, like, of talking about Bible Bashed, because, again, I want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So, in the chat, you can throw it in there too. But if you have like an idea for an episode of a show or some kind of subject or topic, or those are the same words, Dean, or a teacher or a ministry that you guys want to talk about in depth, like, throw it into the comment section and I will take a look at it and see, if it's something I want to cover on the show. I will say I'm not going to cover everything. Like, if there's some things that I just know aren't going to be helpful on this platform, so I'm just not going to talk about it. So it might be something like that. But I had already pushed it back with the Bible Bash stuff, so I wanted to do that because Winston Pickett had asked so nicely a couple times, and I was just like, I want to talk about it. So I pushed it back. So I didn't talk about Josh Howerton, but here we are. We're going to talk about Josh Howerton. If you don't know who Josh Howerton is, look up megachurch pastor in a dictionary, and he's everything that is. I'm feeling salty. He is exactly what you would think of a white megachurch pastor. He goes on to Twitter and he says whatever pops into his head, and some people are like, "This is brilliant. This is the most brilliant thing I've ever heard." And most of the internet goes like, "What?" and then the rest of the internet just kind of gets ignored for a little while. And he's a pastor in Texas. He's got a bigger church. It's interesting to see how things go around. I had made a video that was partially about him a couple years ago. One of my first topics when I just wasn't going to do Bible studies all the time. I talked about plagiarism because it was a big topic with the SBC, and he put out an article about how plagiarism is fine because all truth is God's truth. Oh, brilliant. All truth is God's truth.
I don't know what any of that means.
That's maybe my favorite sound clip, by the way. But he's obviously, if you know me, my background, what I care about, that topic to me is just such a huge red flag if you're okay with plagiarism. I have never found, I'm going to say it, and I don't mean to be accusatory, I have never found a pastor who preaches good sermons who is involved in plagiarism. I don't think it can happen. If you're plagiarizing other people, I think you're a terrible preacher, and I think that you're not feeling what God intends for a pastor to feel as he's going through the text, as he's struggling with the text, as he's preparing to bring it to his people. And I don't think you're being worked on by the Holy Spirit as a pastor should be throughout the week, not just of feeling it for your congregation, but for yourself. You're not, I think it is one of the spiritual disciplines that God puts in the life of a pastor is to preach a weekly sermon where you got to figure that sermon out and you got to learn some things. And sometimes you have to repent of things. I think it's a huge piece of accountability that God just amazingly put into the weekly life of a qualified elder. And so if you're not going to do that, I don't think you should be in ministry. And if you're going to defend it, it's one thing to just not be thinking about it. Cause I know some people aren't like that, right? Some people they're not thinking about the sermon and they think it's more academic to be talking about plagiarism and all that kind of stuff. But if you're going to go and defend it like Josh Howerton did, I think that you're an incredibly deceptive person. And I just think there's other stuff. So I made my video a while back, and go figure, there's more and more stuff that comes out about this guy. And he just keeps on saying stuff and getting people mad, and then going on the internet and being like, I don't care if people are mad. And everyone's like, oh, this great pastor. It's just, as you can tell, I'm not a fan. I'll say it once again for the chosen people, the people not the Calvinists, but the people who like the chosen. Not a fan. But he got into trouble last week because a clip went around. It's not an old clip. Like, I watched the sermon. It's from a month ago, or like maybe like 6 weeks ago now. But he was preaching this like recently, and well, I'll show you. He had this little thing go around on Twitter.
Let's see if you applaud this. Ladies, when you get to his wedding night, he's been planning this night his whole life. So what you need to do is stand where he tells you to stand, wear what he tells you to wear, and do what he tells you to do. You're going to make him the happiest man in the world.
Ha ha ha. Like, again, like, it just even humor wise, like, I'm not claiming to be the funniest person in the world, but I do think I'm funny. I know the internet doesn't, but I think I'm funny. And I'm just like, how's that funny? And like, I get it. Like, there was context there that he said, like, people took this out of context. They took it out of context. The context that he's talking about is just the other side of the joke that nobody cares about like the guy on his wedding day is told what to wear, where to stand, whatever. And so it's the flip, right? Like, oh, this is funny because we reversed it. And now it's about the honeymoon. Honeymoon. Oh, man, I got so many inside jokes with myself, guys. That's a Boy Meets World reference, just FYI. But come on. Like, it's all he's doing there is doing the same stuff, sending out the same message that women have heard so many times, that they don't have a sex drive. All right, we're going to be talking about some of this stuff. So, like, again, discretion. I don't know. This isn't, the olive, but, it's just discretion. Have some discretion about who's listening. But it's saying, like, women don't have a sex drive, that men, that's what they really care about. That's all they care about. And while, stereotypes have some truth to them, right? Like, all of them do. Well, I shouldn't say all of them. I would say most of them do. There's like a little bit of truth to some of these things. That's why they go around, or at least, someone fits into that box that people have. But it's not always true. And then also, like, the idea of the man just being like the person who gets to literally boss the woman around in the bedroom is like really weird. All right. Like, I'm not saying like this clip is specifically, I've seen people talk about like, it's this, it's marital grape. That's what I'll say. Okay. For YouTube's, it's marital grape. And you get what I'm saying, right? Like, all right. But I don't think it's necessarily that, but it's the same kind of thinking. It's the thinking that the man gets what he wants in the bedroom and the woman just takes it. Like, the woman doesn't get to have any preferences. The woman just gets to be like this piece of meat for the man to enjoy. And that's awful. That's taking away the personhood from women. And it's just incredibly foolish. Like, even now in this time that we're living in, like, again, like, this stuff, it's not like this clip came out in like 2014 where we haven't had some of the conversations that we've had. These guys say these things on purpose right now in 2023 to get the reaction that they want, to dog whistle the crazies and to have them be a part of, whatever they're trying to build. And it's so clear at this point. If you don't think that Josh Howerton is all about his social media, like, you're not paying attention to this dude. And like, there have been some bigger social media people who have pushed him. I'm thinking of Brady Schreier from Pro Church Tools Media. Pro Church Media Tools. I don't know. Some of those words are correct. But he made this whole thing about like, oh, Josh Howerton's doing so many good things online. It's abundantly clear to me that he's saying this kind of obviously offensive stuff in this time frame to tick people off it's the same stuff. It might not be as, over the top as, some of these other guys like Brian Sauvé and all those, like the Eric Kahns of the world. Like it might not be like that, but it is that. Like, why else would you make that joke? Like, it's a bad joke. It's theologically just like awful because, once again, there's no equality there. And I believe that Josh Howerton would not be like patriarchy, or at least maybe, I don't know, maybe he would be. Maybe I should do some research on that one. I'm at the point where I need to stop giving people the benefit of the doubt. So he might be a patriarchy guy, but I don't think that he is. So, like, I think that if you were going to have a conversation with him about the specifics and dive into the weeds about it, they'd be like, "Oh, no, it was just a joke. I didn't mean anything by that." But that's also troubling that pastors just get up and become stand-up comedians, and then we're not supposed to take anything that they say seriously. But then that like 10 seconds later, they're going to have someone come up and play the organ real slow or put on like some synth sound behind him. And, we're supposed to take him seriously then. It's just like, you can't have it both ways, where you're like, I'm all about truth. And then you're like getting up there and like, it's just really, really bad stand up. It's the same as like when I do my Ken Ham bits, like, is this thing on? It's the same garbage. And he just gets to get away with it because he's a white megachurch pastor who, has this huge following online. And so he can get up and he can just put out a clip like this.
So let me just encourage like our ladies. One, actually, I want to say a word to pastors really quick. I actually see we've got a lot of pastors that watch these things. I just want to say to our pastors, hey guys, just because you experience that sometimes, continue to be bold. Yeah. Continue. What we must not do as pastors is rob women of the discipleship that they need in order to grow, because we're afraid of the reaction of bad and ungodly women. Because listen, good and godly women will honor you for it.
And they want that.
They want it. Yeah. They want it. So, hey, my fellow pastors, don't do that. Yeah. The other thing I would just say is, man, the book of Proverbs says that what wise people do, they love correction. Mm-hmm. So a heart of wisdom, when correction comes wisdom, a wise person goes, what's true about that? Mm-hmm. What could I take from that? And a foolish person does come with 10 why that's not me. But watch this, it's that when you limit the correction you receive, you're limiting, blessing God because your life is man. It's making sense.
It seems like it. Okay. So he's not repentant in any way. He isn't like, maybe I shouldn't have made that joke. He's like, pastors, this is going to happen to all of you. No, it's not. Like, this is always like when people are like, oh, when you make people angry, you know that you're stepping on idols. It's like, no, you don't. Like, maybe you're just making people angry. Like, maybe you're just saying things that are bad. And like, it doesn't always mean I'm standing up for truth. You're going to get this, pastors. No, you're not. If you do things right, you aren't going to get this kind of level of aggression for what you say. But he's doing it, and so it's fine, because once again, he's the faithful pastor, because the megachurch pastors, they're always the faithful ones, and it's always the people online who are the worst. I thought that last bit was hilarious, by the way, of just like, oh, well, you got to take correction. So the women have to, take correction. So pastors, don't be scared to give that correction, because they need it. They need it, and they want it if they're, a godly woman, but not Josh Howerton. A wise man receives correction unless it's on Twitter, and then you block everybody, including me. I got blocked by Josh Howerton a while back. I don't know how many people have blocked me, but it's not many. And so I was kind of like, what? I don't know what I said. Maybe it was the plagiarism thing. But, got blocked. But that's a wise, he's a wise man who's taking correction. When the whole internet rises up and says one, if it's just a joke, it's not a good joke to be making, period. But especially after we've had all this discussions. Two, I don't think you were actually joking. It's kind of clear from your teachings that while you may not be patriarchy man, you are very much hey, women are non-sexual, men are overly sexual. So women, they're always thinking about the wedding day. Men are always thinking about what's going to happen that night. Ha ha ha. Come on. No, it's not. All right. So many women, so many Christian women have been waiting for that moment, and they're super excited. Okay. We don't need to get really messed up and pervy about it, but they're ready to go. And so it's not just the Christian men who are just let's get out of this reception. Okay. We need to go to the honeymoon suite. It's not just them. The girls are excited too, because we're sexual beings. And when you start taking that away and giving all the power to the men, that's not just going to stay for honeymoon night. If again, I don't think he's joking. And there's so many people that actually give this kind of teaching that it's just it's not going to just be that one day that they're going to be oh, this is what we're supposed to do. That's going to carry on for the rest of their marriage. So now you're going to have a husband who's going to be you got to give it. You got to give it up, even though you got a headache or even though you're not feeling it. And then next thing you know, it's no longer about the woman's satisfaction at all. It is just a job that she has to do to fulfill her wifely duties. And there's all kinds of actual intimacy, not just physical intimacy, but actual intimacy that's lost when that's the case. God gave us sex not just for enjoyment, but also to bind us together. There's something that happens there. And so when you're all about just that enjoyment, not the enjoyment of the other partner, you're not going to get that. You're not going to be bound together. You're not going to be the one flesh. You're going to mess up everything. When you are all about yourself and getting satisfaction for yourself and not for your partner, and you're not thinking about their well-being, what they would enjoy, whether they want to be a part of this moment at all. When you start doing that, you are no longer a loving spouse. That is use. It can lead to abuse. And it's just so flawed. You're thinking about that person no longer as that person, but a means to an end of satisfaction. Essentially, you're making yourself and certain body parts into an idol. That's what you're doing. And you're worshiping yourself in that moment rather than actually enjoying your spouse and glorifying God. You're not going to glorify God by forcing your spouse, whether it's the husband or the wife, by forcing them to be a part of that moment. Now, sure, you do have Bible passages that talk about Paul saying hey, don't hold out forever. Maybe after a time of prayer or whatever, you guys can come back together and be intimate once more. But that's not what we're talking about. These people that throw that verse in there and they're hey, well, this, come on. Well, you know that's not what Paul is meaning. All right, Paul is meaning people who need to take a break for different reasons. All right, not just because they're having a spouse who wants it too much or something. That's not what's going on. But it's power, it's control, it's what they're trying to get in that moment. And again, I think it's idolatry. I really do. So that's that stuff. That's the Josh Howerton bit. Let's throw the chat up again and we'll see if it's going to work out properly. Let's see. Is it working? Why does it... Did it just not update? what is it? But I love, if I were to go, is this even the right one? It says Whitney's thing. I don't see Whitney's comment in the chat at all. So I think it just froze.
Let's see if you applaud this.
Sorry.
Ladies,
My bad.
one.
When
My bad. Did that go away? Okay, it did go away. Sorry about that. But I'm trying to, I don't know why the chat thing isn't going to work. It's showing like an old copy of it. But I think it's because I don't have my other monitor set up. Let's go down here. Now let's talk with you guys. I wanna just hang out. So let's bring up Sarah's. That man does not need to be bold. He needs to apologize. Yeah, he's not gonna. These guys just don't. And I don't know. Like, there's still people that could apologize because, you know, I do believe that he loves Jesus, and if he loves Jesus, he's got the Holy Spirit, so the Holy Spirit can work. But a lot of times these guys just, like, they get blinded. They get blinded by their goals and ambitions, and it seems like they just refuse to say sorry about anything. And it's frustrating, to be honest. Like, it's like you could correct these people. And even like I constantly go back to that TGC moment with Josh Butler. Like, the entirety of the internet was like, this isn't right. And they still like refused to bend for like 4 or 5 days until some bigger names came out and said, like, hey, this is really messed up when you think about it. And they're like, all right, we're going to hide things. But they never like apologized for it. And it's just like, they just don't. Like, these power players in evangelicalism, they just refuse to give in ever, even when everyone is like, this is wrong. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I realized when I went into the other thing that there wasn't audio hooked up in that scene. My bad. I'll figure this crap out, guys. I promise. Maybe, hopefully, I better. Let's see. Heidi also says the advice from the first video is really, really unhealthy for marriages, even if there is an abuse. It's way better and more fun if both of you know your desires and feelings and matters in that area. Absolutely. Like, and I don't want to get too into the weeds about it, because I get weird talking about this stuff. Like, I still have like that fundy stuff in the back of my head, and then I'm just a very private person. I just don't understand how people can enjoy it. Like, if you're not thinking about the other person, like, I don't, like, that is such like a foreign concept to me. Like, isn't that part of like the whole fun? I don't know. Like, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but it's just like, if the other person isn't having fun in that moment, I don't know what the point is. Like, it just seems so weird to me that people are like, I'm just saying, also, like, let's be real. All right, that joke, like, super inappropriate when even you just wear what he tells you to wear. Like, why is that being said from a pulpit? Like, what do you mean? Also, what dude who isn't caught up in all kinds of sinful stuff is picking out the wardrobe like for the honeymoon? Like, what? Like, no, it's just like, okay, your joke doesn't work on a lot of different levels if it was a joke. Yeah, stop making women feel bad like you. Like, that's the way God made us. Like, if we didn't, like, if the other sex didn't have that, like, it kind of destroys everything, right? Like, the people are so weird. Sarah says he needs to read The Great Sex Rescue from Sheila Gregor. I'm sure that he already has. Or let's be honest, these guys don't read. Like they're listening to audiobooks. They're reading audiobooks while they're on the job. And I got a visitor coming. But he either has to find things that you go back to deal with, like because he seems like that. Like he's one of those Twitter warrior guys. Oh, yeah. Hi. Okay. What do you guys need? No, you don't. Already your snack. It is just bedtime. You want to see what's... And now you have... All right. No. Tomorrow. All right. Night-night. It's fine. Let's get that in something. It's all right. You can have it. Just get him one. We got hungry boys. Let's see. I like secondary set. I'm realizing I'm probably not going to do this. I like the phone. I might do just the phone, but today I want to show clips. And I was like, do that phone, and to bring the equipment here is not worth it. So might not see this exact kind of a look, but I don't know. I like the way the phone actually looks. It kind of blows my mind, like Apple, like with their colors and thing, how amazing get lighting. Lighting once again, like this junky old softbox can't the actual cloth do, so it's really harsh light, which stinks. But it's the best that I could do for right now. But like with the phone, I didn't have to do that, and it looks pretty decent. So I'll probably just do that moving forward and just make sure that when I'm talking up here, I'm not using, some clips. Yes, audio is messed up for me too. What audio? What is going on? Is audio messed up? I hate being behind a chat and stuff like that. No. Oh man, I used to be really good at streaming. Yeah, it's true, Tommy. Why does it seem all these dudes are so obsessed with talk? Red flags. Like. Again, I think was Carol or somebody, Sarah maybe brought up like, oh, like bring it, or Carolyn, like we bring it up and then we say like, hey, maybe it should be brought up in this circumstance, and then people call us prudes for things. Like, I don't know. Like it should be that we can bring these up, but there's context for bringing that stuff up. Like the audience, like when you start getting into like the weeds of certain things, like you cannot talk about sex in the same way with adults as you can with teens. And teens and adults, like if you do that, you're asking for trouble. Like you treat like responsibly and like you deal with it. It's not like you just shut away, but there's a way that we talk about it, and there's certain aspects that we bring certain groups, demographics. So it's just weird. They're just always coming up, and like, I just get really like on edge whenever it's part of punchlines. Like it's just and it's just like, I mean, I watch a lot of stand-up comedy, and like that's what they do. Like 90% of stand-up comedy is about sex, and the reason why is because it's always like this awkward, nervous thing, right? Like I'm not trying to be worth 10%, but it's. Like they're just, I don't know, they're just watching stand-up, like the way that they interact with their congregation from that. It weird me too. Oh. Is that better? Real statically. It's messed up. In and out. Satan is attacking. Oh my goodness. Is it still going? We can't follow you. Not getting any of this, man. Oh, snap. Is it still going on? Guys, can you hear me? It looks like everything's good on my end. Like I can hear myself pretty clearly. Someone in the corner of your living room must be really bad. Oh, okay. It's the stream. It's not the audio. Like it's actual stream. Okay, let me see. Dang. All this work for nothing. Let me see. Looks like it's okay. Oh, I see it. Guys, can you hear me? It looks like everything's good. Like I can hear myself clearly. That is nuts. Okay. Let me see if I can do some things. Let me go to stream. Let's go to output. Oh, I can't fix it. I'm trying to see if I can figure out how to send it to my other network. I have two networks. Can I figure that out? That's not going to work while I'm doing this. All right. You know what? I don't know. Should I give my phone a shot? Just go to the phone? Forget all this fanciness, which isn't fancy apparently. From 5 minutes ago? What? Oh, Daniel. You know what? We'll give it a shot.